with liberty and justice for all.
And all please remain standing for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel? Here. Commissioner Vogel?
Here.
Commissioner Boyd?
Here. I will note this meeting is being live streamed and being sent out to our YouTube channel for public consumption. It's also being recorded internally for our purposes in compiling the minutes to that end. If anybody has any business before the board or wishes to present public comment before the board, we ask that you come up to the booth here and then speak into that microphone. Row officer reports and comments. I'm looking out in the audience today. I'm not seeing any row officers. Oh, our interim row officer.
I'm just here to open the business.
Perfect.
Nothing to report.
Thank you.
It's always a good thing.
Public comments. Do we have any member of the public here wishing to make comment? Sir, would you be able to come up to the microphone? If you'd be able to give your name and your address just for our purposes in compiling the minutes.
Dave Crepich, 1000 Epic Drive, Culver City.
How are you doing today, sir?
Fine, thanks.
Thanks, sir.
Picture it. Tomorrow, October 6, 2021, Newcastle, PA. In the court of the Honorable President Judge Dominic Motto, courtroom number 1. The plaintiff presents a one-word allegation of improvement. Patiently waiting for evidence and testimony, the court hears none. The plaintiff failed to present any burden of proof. Judge Motto declares the plaintiff claim lacking any value. In addition, Judge Motto considers the one-word basis to be an arbitrary crime of obtaining money by the abuse of one authority. In regards to the assessment office's change notice of August 19th, I absolutely state no structural and no land improvements of my residence during my ownership. This frivolous claim is simply an attempt to perpetrate for profit and to gain an unfair and dishonest advantage. Judge Motto rules in favor of the defendant, issues a return to the original billing basis, reimbursement of fees and costs to the defendant, and slams the gavel. An agitated Judge Motto then summons the plaintiff into his chamber. In addition, no options were offered to me to schedule the original hearing date of September 21st. Being a caretaker of a cancer patient, this date conflicted with my obligations, caused me to reschedule, and they imposed an additional rescheduling fee. I am asking you, my commissioners, to unanimously direct the assessment office to return to the original billing basis, $25 reimbursement for my hearing fee, $10 date change fee, and $14.56 for a 26 round trip mallet expense based on the IRS standard of 56 cents a month. Spot reassessment is illegal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments at this time? Hearing none, we'll move to fiscal and contractual. We have no advertising for bids or proposals today. We do have proposals to be open and tabled until October 26th of 2021. We have our acting controller Prestipine, soon to be controller Prestipine, here to open recycling solid waste for sale refuse truck and 41 6 cubic yard dumpsters. And we'll, I don't know what this bid for collection, processing, and marketing of recyclables for countywide drop-off fee, but we'd be able to sort two items here.
That's correct.
Is that the two bids, two
Yes.
separate, three? Gotcha, thank you. What do we have going on?
Okay, the first we'll do is the truck and the recycling truck and recycling containers. The first one I have here is from Mike. Apologize if I pronounced this wrong, from Louisiana, from Bellefonte, Pennsylvania.
Mr. Prestipine, were these all received in a timely manner?
This is one.
Thank you.
Bid for 2004 Mack truck, $5,001. Bid for the 6-yard boxes, $301. Next one is not marked to its phone. From Seraphine Hauling in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. Recycling refuse vehicle, $2,500. The recycling refuse containers, $200 as numbers of containers desired 4. The last one is from Tri-County Industries. Recycling refuse vehicle, $3,500. Recycling refuse containers, it says bid per container, $100, number of containers desired, 44.
We have 44 containers.
It says number available up to 43.
Yes.
Before we go to the next bidding items, are there any questions or comments from my colleagues regarding these bids?
No.
I will take a motion to accept the bids, refer them to the appropriate administrative officials, and otherwise table them until such time as those officials have the opportunity to review.
So moved.
Second. Good motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question is on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, next up.
Up is the bids for recycling, collection, processing, and marketing. First one I have here is from Tri-County Industries in Grove City, Pennsylvania. Option A price and option B price. Option A, the total for the contract is $630,180. Option B, total for contract, $630,180. It's not marked. It's from. Seraphine Hauling in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. Option A, total for contract, $561,769.20. Option B, total for contract, $602,269.20. Final one is from Aiken Refuse. Option A, total for contract $419,280. Option B, total for contract $504,000.
Is that everything? Questions, comments from my colleagues? I'll take a motion to accept the bids, refer them to the appropriate administrative officials, and otherwise table them until such time as they are ready for action.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Dave, thank you very much.
Thank
Well, Mr. I should have done this in the beginning, but we kind of know that we're selling the refuse truck and the 41 or 44 cubic yard dumpsters. We mentioned, we had a little discussion at the beginning, noted that those were mostly paid for through state grants. And so to that end, the sale, whatever we recoup from that, we'll have to be given back to the state. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
The second thing for the bid up for collection, processing, and marketing of recyclables for countywide drop-off depots, would you be able just to give a 1 minute, 2 minute synopsis of what that entails, just for the sake of the audience and the viewers?
Sure. This is for a 3-year contract for the countywide recycling drop-off program, known locally as the Big Blue Bin program. Consists of 3 sites in Mercer. I think we have 11 or 12 in Lawrence County, so this would be a contract for the next 3-year period.
All right. Thank you very much. Just wanted to give that little bit of context. Otherwise, I think we're all in good shape.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before you move to the next matter, may I have the privilege of making a comment to the gentleman from Elwood City? Yes. Sir, after listening to your remarks a few moments ago, and perhaps you've already either done this or have thought about doing this, but may I respectfully suggest that the request that you made of us verbally, if you so choose, perhaps if you'd be kind enough to put that in writing to us. And what we would need to do would be to refer it to our solicitor for his review, if you're so willing.
Yeah, I see no problem. However, on the 13th, I do have a scheduled hearing with the assessment board.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you are present for that also.
No, generally
No,
not.
this is, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't quite understand where you were coming from. I was going to offer to speak to you after the meeting to try to get some clarification because
Actually, I think Loretta and I are maybe on the same page. This might be an issue that the assessment appeal board may have to make a determination on rather than the Board of Commissioners.
Well, I wasn't sure if they reported to you.
They don't. Oddly enough, we appoint them, but then they are a separate independent body and they do not report to the commissioners.
And then who do they report to?
They're their own board.
Everybody reports to somebody.
Not that board. The only power we have is to appoint that board, and then from there, they're totally autonomous.
Well,
And we do that. The reason we do that, quite frankly, is to keep politics out of taxation. In other words, when we're up for re-election, we don't want to be put in a position where politics takes place over the laws and what's necessary.
But unfortunately, there are members on that did not get a spot reassessment. My position is I've lived in that home my entire life. I've made no structural or land improvements the entire time that I've lived there. I get a letter from them saying that my basis is being increased. Reason being, one word, improvement. They failed to provide any evidence or testimony.
Mm-hmm.
They have to report to somebody. I'll take it to God, because we all report to God.
Sure.
In one way or another.
Well, and so here's sort of what happens there is if you wish to challenge it, it sounds like you are, You go before that board will hear your case and will do it fairly, and I believe they always have done it fairly. The assessment office will make its case, the board will make a ruling. If you disagree with that ruling, you are able to take it upstairs. It might be Judge Motto, it might be Judge Hodge, or it might be Judge Cox. And from there, they have the ability to overrule. So there's checks and balances in place, but that board unto itself doesn't report to anybody. They can be appealed, but they don't report to anybody.
Wow, what a job.
And just for the record, they only get paid $100 a meeting.
Well, I'm only asking for my reimbursement, $25, $14 for mileage, and $10 to reschedule a meeting. Really? To reschedule a meeting because they failed to provide any evidence, anything in disclosure but a one-word sentence? No. You're going to charge me an extra $10 for that? It's not the $10. I eat bigger tips at a bar. Okay. But the audacity and the arrogance. Make an anonymous have friends make anonymous phone calls to that office and see how you're treated. See how you're treated. You should really consider who you appoint to that board.
Well, I appreciate the clarification, because when you were here initially, my initial thought was, yeah, this is something that the commissioners would have the jurisdiction over. And then as I was sat up here and thought a little further, I'm glad we've had more of a dialogue here, because as we've noted,
Right.
It sounds as though it is a matter of the Assessment Appeal Board. And as Commissioner Boyd noted, they are an autonomous body. And I believe that your request would need to go in front of them.
I've spoken to 14 neighbors, okay? 3 out of the 14 got the same letter that I did. The other ones didn't. They cannot, I don't know where these people think, where they could do spot assessment on certain houses. Now, granted, within the past year, both houses on both sides of me sold. The one family, they went into assisted living. The other, on the other side of me, the lady died. And recently, with real estate prices skyrocketing, my opinion, they pay too much for it, but it's not my money. My evaluation is there's some bean counter that says, ooh, this house is worth this house is worth this. Look at the one in the middle. How dare he pay such a low rate? But you know what? That millage rate not only affects my county taxes, my school taxes, and everything else. So, as I said, a frivolous claim, an unsubstantiated claim, without evidence or testimony, to perpetrate for profit and to gain an unfair and dishonest advantage is fraud. That is the definition of fraud.
And again, the appropriate board to which to take your concerns is the Assessment Appeal Board.
Well, I understand your position. However, I'm not confident that things will be handled fairly.
Well, and I'll tell you, if you believe that you have basis for an appeal, at that point, like I said, you have the ability, and many people do, to take it up to the 3rd floor of the Court of Common Pleas level.
Well, thank you for advice. I'll take it into consideration. I will be there on the 13th. And
We won't be.
well, good for you.
Yeah.
But you know, it has to start somewhere. It's, you know, and if you're saying that you're the one that hired them or appoint them, in my opinion, I think you did a poor job.
Please accept my apology, because I wasn't thinking quickly enough when you were up front. As you can see, I had a delayed reaction. I needed a little time to digest what you were saying, and then it occurred to me, it sounds like this is really a matter for the Assessment Appeal Board. So forgive my delayed reaction to your request.
There's no problem. When is their term up, and when do they get reappointed? And
Terms up at the end of this year. So we did
All three of them?
We did the 2 year when we came on board.
And follow the process through. Do that, you know, I know that you're upset with it now, but follow it through so that you do have those chances to appeal where you need to appeal to.
Oh, count on it, Loretta. I will.
Yeah,
Thank you.
again, I apologize too. I was trying to follow it through and then realized what you were talking about, like a change in an assessment or something, and that is what the board is for. But and there are many people that will appeal and go to the next step, and that's the Court of Common Pleas, and then evidence has to be offered. I'm not sure what the entire process is, but yeah, definitely follow that through so that at least you get a clear understanding of what the process is, and you know, if it should change, there would be an opportunity for you to recoup your losses.
And to make you aware, I'm not the only one.
Right.
Okay? I've spoken to many of my neighbors. Why did some get it? One did, some didn't. So there is no fairness there. It's fraud to gain an unfair advantage.
On that note, I am going to move the meeting
Okay.
along, and if anybody wishes to circle back around afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
But up next, we do have approval of the minutes from Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. I'll give my colleagues a minute to check those over and take a motion to approve the minutes or make any necessary and expedient changes.
I like how it says expedient, speed reading. I had looked through previous and I didn't see anything other than a lot of the different contracts that we voted on for last week, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have written communications and correspondence for only one entity today, which is the Zayo Group LLC, accessing the public right-of-way at Grant Street in the city of Newcastle for the purpose of extending its communications network. And what they're working on doing is proposed installation of fiber optic wire line at the Newcastle Industrial Railroad corridor within the public right-of-way limits of Grant Street in Newcastle, Morris County, Pennsylvania. I will note, as I always do with these, the Board of Commissioners has no approval authority over these types of permitting applications or right-of-way agreements or anything like that. Under state law, we are just required to be notified that such applications are taking place. Questions, comments on that? I'll take a motion to accept and file correspondence.
So moved.
Second, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Staff reports. We have a member of staff here. Is anything to report above and beyond what's already on the agenda? Seeing none. Commissioner reports and comments. Loretta, you're on deck first. You have the floor.
I know, I don't have too much other than the fact that we're gonna have that trivia question, and I didn't study up on the northern boroughs or the boroughs of don't look at me and smile like that.
Okay, thankfully, there's only two northern boroughs. The unfortunate thing for you is I live in one of them.
Just commenting on, I have to bring it up, the Rolling Stones were in concert in Pittsburgh last night, and I think half the county might have been there enjoying the concert, so I didn't hear of any mishaps or anything, and hopefully we don't have a huge COVID outbreak as a result of it. But I'm glad that the concert went off and that it was enjoyed by so many. That's it.
Thank you. Dan, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, to show you how old I am, I actually saw the Rolling Stones in the 1980s at Three Rivers Stadium.
When they were just pebbles. I resisted, I couldn't.
That's good. So that's a few years ago.
I'll say, yeah.
I do want to note, just for the record, that within the last few weeks, I'm not sure if anybody in the room, Debbie might have known these people. We lost two former county commissioners from neighboring counties. In Mercer County, Olivia Laser passed away. She was a longtime county commissioner up there. And in Butler County, Joan Chu passed away. I don't believe she's related to the Commissioner Chu. I don't think she's related. Could be, but to my knowledge, she wasn't. Actually, her husband was a fellow named Charlie Chu, and he had been a commissioner a number of years before Joan became commissioner. He passed away, and I think Joan remarried. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but I just wanted to note, Debbie, I don't know if those names mean anything to you.
I think I interviewed Joan when McConnell's Mill stuff was going on,
Okay.
and I remember Olivia.
Well, good. I'm glad that at least someone in the room makes a connection to those two ladies. They were both very, very good county commissioners. All right, and then I'll conclude with the weekly trivia question. And it does involve boroughs, but I've got to also throw in the city of Newcastle. Now,
Okay.
as noted, we have 10 boroughs in the county and one third-class city, city of Newcastle. Now, the following boroughs I'm going to name have something within their borough limits that the other ones don't. So here are the ones that have this certain thing, which you need to tell me what it is. This is open to anybody. These boroughs have one of these. Bessemer, Enon Valley, Volant, Wampum, and the city of Newcastle. But I'm going to put an asterisk next to that. The following boroughs, however, do not have this certain thing within their borough limits. Elford, Elwood City, New Beaver, New Wilmington, SNPJ, and South Newcastle. Now this is a tough one. So the first ones that I named have this, and then the 6 that I named after that do not have this. And again, this is a very challenging one.
A mayor.
That's a good guess, but no, they do all have
What are
mayors.
the ones that have it again?
The ones that have this certain thing, that was a very good guess. Bessemer, Enon Valley, Volant, and Wampum boroughs. And again, there's an asterisk as far as the city of Newcastle, which I'll explain at the end. They have it, but it's a little different.
Parade.
That's also a good guess, but no,
A well system.
good guess as well.
Indoor plumbing.
A number of years ago, that would have probably been true. Worth a $2 bill to whoever gets it. Well, the Veterans Park. That's another good guess.
That's a good guess.
And it may be true, but not in this instance. Yes.
All right, can we phone a friend? How about a hint? Without giving away, maybe.
I verified this information by going to PennDOT's website. But the answer is not a state-maintained road.
Okay,
Fire department.
Traffic cameras.
traffic light.
No, but you both got a little bit warmer.
Traffic light.
You're getting warmer, but
Stop sign.
that's also a lot of good guesses, but, well, I don't want to hold the meeting up. So, Mr. Chairman, you tell me when it's time to give the answer.
And we'll give anybody have any last minute guesses here? All right, David,
Are we ready?
we're stumped.
All right, I get to keep my $2 bill.
Oh, one-way streets.
You're getting even warmer.
God, intersecting one-way streets.
Alley.
You're in the right ballpark right now.
Ordained alleys.
Oh my goodness, you're getting even
Oh,
warmer.
unordained alleys.
You're getting very warm.
Vacated.
Vacated
Oh, you
alleys.
just got colder.
Oh.
That first word you said is part of the answer. I may give you the $2 bill because you got so close.
Unordained ministers.
Now we're back to Arctic. Oh, wow, oh.
Unordained road.
Again, you're right in the ballpark. I'll probably give the $2 bill to Loretta. The answer is that the boroughs of Bessemer, Enum Valley, Volant, and Wampum all have an ordained street named Main Street. What the hell, man? The
Oh,
city of Newcastle has, with an asterisk, East Main Street,
okay.
up by Lockley
Okay.
School.
Right,
But if you go to the other 6 boroughs, Elport, Elwood City, New Beaver, New
Right.
Wilmington, SNPJ, and South Newcastle, they do not have a street named Main Street,
I'll be darned.
which is a little surprising. You would think that most boroughs would
Yeah,
have a Main Street.
Does SNPJ have a street?
Martin Road. Martin Road goes through, it's
Okay.
ordained. So an ordained street named Main Street.
Wow,
4 boroughs, and again, technically,
this,
it's
right.
a city, but it's known as East Main Street.
Mhm.
So, all right, maybe I made that one too tough.
That was a toughie.
We'll make it a little easier next week.
Okay, yes.
I probably should have given up. When you said ordained, you
Wow.
were about halfway there.
You get a
Right.
dollar bill.
Yes, tear it in half. Save it for next week.
All right.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Okay.
We'll make it a little easier next week.
Okay.
All right, for me, I just want to touch briefly on our 2022 budget. I'm wrapping up the third pass right now, general fund budget. The only major areas left to go are the county contribution to the 911 fund, the county contribution to domestic relations, and the county's pension contribution. 911 and domestic should be wrapped up end of next week. Pension contribution, we're gonna wait on the actuary, so that's gonna take a little bit longer. I actually had a meeting with Josh this morning to go over his budget. I've got meetings later on today with the warden, with the monetary, with the sheriff, and with the public defender. Again, slowly working our way through those budgets. Right now, and I sent you guys an email to this effect last night. We're roughly a break even for 2022. In other words, our revenues are looking to roughly equal our total expenses. I will say that our expenses are increasing at a faster rate than our revenues. Our saving grace this year is that our insurance costs are roughly being maintained relative to 2021. So I also added fee revenues and other miscellaneous revenues are tanking right now. I don't know whether or not that's our declining population. I don't know whether or not that's an effect of the pandemic. I don't know what the cause of that is, but our fees and our miscellaneous revenues are taking a bath. I'll also note that this budget, we're balancing a little bit of it with one-time funding streams, such as our state elections reimbursements. We still have a little over $200,000 in reimbursables to claim from the state for the purchase of the new election systems. That will all be claimed, if not the end of this year, next year, and that's partially being used to balance next year's budget. So to that end, and again, I include this in the email that I sent out for 2023. 2022 will most likely be in good shape. For 2023, though, if our revenues do not improve and expense growth continues to progress, we're likely going to have 3 options. And the reason for these 3 options is because most of our other operational expenses we've trimmed down to the point where they can't be trimmed down anymore. And so, our fiscal position will require us in 2023, again, if revenues don't improve, to either cut positions, cut benefits, or raise taxes. Those will be the 3 options in 2023. Personally, I can tell you that I won't vote to raise taxes. And again, we've trimmed down the other expenses largely to the extent that we can. That's just our fiscal position right now. And so to that end, I just want to summarize, we're going to need to have fortitude this year to hold the line on our costs and to hold the line on the number of positions which we fund for 2022, mostly because our financial future is going to depend on it. So good this year. Next year, we're going to have to start making some hard decisions.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Up next, we have from our planning department, if I can find my pen. Becky, you got one? I found it. Becky Schaefer, resolution discussion to approval to revise the contract allocation for projects eligible under CDBG fiscal year 18 in Union Township. Becky, what do we have going on today?
Well, we do have a cost savings, which everyone likes to hear. So Union is our OBO on behalf of, we take care of 3 different, Union, Shenango, and Elwood City.
Mhm.
So we are doing the ADA, restroom project. And we had money in 17 and money in 18, so we're using up all of 17, so we're only gonna touch part of 18's money. So the rest of that, we are moving to Union's rehab, so.
The thing I'll note for this is that the County of Lawrence administers the CDBG funds for 3 municipalities. Those municipalities are the Township of Union, the Township of Shenango, and the Borough of Elwood City. Under that structure, well, the board, again, administers those funds, and the county administers those funds. We don't have any say-so on how those funds get spent. They're spent at the discretion of the township supervisors in Union and Shenango and the Borough Council and Elwood City. And so to that end, this amendment is I'm assuming made at the behest of the Union Township supervisors.
Yep. Yeah, they're moving along, okay.
Questions, comments?
I'd like to hear that as well.
I have a comment unrelated to this, but related to the planning office.
Sure.
If I may. And I'm fine with this, Rebecca, thank you. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to go out to Quaker Falls, the Quaker Falls Park in Mahoning Township. Andrew Henley had a group of a couple folks from YSU who are involved in archaeology and geology, and they wanted to see the property, and we took a pretty long hike. Went down, saw the cemetery, and but the immediate area right off of 224, the sign looks so nice.
Mhm.
And the gravel walkways look very, very nice. And of course, Mr. Henley has produced some historical signage as well. So if you have an opportunity, if you're out that way, you might want to stop. The sign does have our names on it. There's nice little plaques down at the bottom, and it's really coming together. And I want to tell you how nice it looks.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Actually, we'll be taking a vote on something related to that here in a couple of minutes too, so we'll
Yes.
put it in the falls.
Very good.
Thank you very much for the.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Vanessa, what number is this?
241.
Okay, I will take, unless there's any further questions or comments, I will take a motion to approve resolution 2021-241.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, question on the motion, all in favor? Vanessa, call the roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Up next, we have J.R. Hardister with the Assessment Office for resolution discussion possible approval of MAP Investments LLC. J.R., how are you doing today?
Not bad, good morning. How's everyone doing?
Doing all right. What do we have going on?
In front of you is a consent agreement or resolution for a property in Shenango Township. This is the old Mulligan's Restaurant and Bar on 422. Property owner filed an assessment appeal. Council came in with an agreement of sale that it was going to be sold in front of the Court of Common Pleas, and the Shenango School District and the county looked at the agreement. The township did not intervene in this case, so they've not signed off on anything. They've lowered the assessment from $76,300 down to $50,000 for the restaurant bar. This is just the restaurant and bar. It's in hopes to save some money so the new owner can go ahead and reopen it back up. I'm not sure what the intent is, but the new owner is planning to operate some type of restaurant.
Questions, comments?
Has the school district agreed to this settlement,
Yes, I have Attorney Harper's signature on our consent order already.
meaning that they took a vote at a public meeting,
Yes.
to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, he should not or would not sign this until they do. And just like past practice, I usually don't come in front of you until the attorneys either signed this or I've got written notification that the other 2 or 3 taxing bodies have agreed to it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Brett, anything?
No.
All right. I know the gentleman in the back might want to talk to you afterwards just about this.
I was gonna ask,
Yeah, I'm not going to open up for public comments right now because we're in the middle of voting, but if after the session you'd like to talk to JR about what's going on here, you're obviously more than welcome to do so. Make that resolution 2021-242. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second with a very, very minor technical change to what you said during your discussion with us. And forgive me for being so nitpicky, but that is Business Route 422, not Route 422.
Right. It's kind of right on the Shenango city line.
Right.
So
Yes.
it changes.
Yeah, but it is Business Route, so forgive me for being so nitpicky. Just wanted to enter that into the record.
It's old, isn't it? No, it's before it, that's right.
It's right there at the line.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes,
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Do you need me to stick around for the transfer or not?
No, I can take care of that.
Okay, thank you.
you're willing to speak to the gentleman?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
IT, I told Bill saw me this morning in the maintenance lounge. I told him I could cover this for him.
Speak about your issue.
Still.
He's
a little
walking
bit.
sideways.
Yeah, it's
All
not,
right.
it's not a,
Yeah.
I told him, I said, if you're still feeling pretty bad, halfway through, if you
When you
Yeah.
go out that door,
Yeah.
second left, walk down the hallway.
But what we have here today is, I'm sure that you guys, everybody here is pretty much aware, that we are looking at significantly upgrading the IT systems in and around the courthouse. We have at this time, I believe, completed or close to completed, architectural drawings for rewiring this building, and I want to say the APO domestics building was on that, as well. This resolution would be a request for bids to basically deploy the work of those architectural drawings. In other words, actually physically run the cables. So we have the design schematics. The next step in that process is running the cables. I'll predicate this by saying that this project at this time is contingent upon the final rule coming out from U.S. Treasury as related to how we can spend American
Yes.
Rescue Plan dollars. The thought is we issue this, we push this out, we see what costs come back as, and as well as hopefully that time final ruling will be out. But at a very minimum, we'll know how much those necessary infrastructure improvements will cost.
Makes perfect sense.
Yes. It, just as a side, since we're over a half hour anyways, a little bit chuckle, there was a headline, I don't even know which news station I was watching or something. And it said that, states are reluctant to spend ARP dollars. And I'm thinking to myself, well, we're all hesitant to spend the ARP dollars because we don't have any guidelines finalized at this point in time. So I don't know if any of you are getting phone calls just from people or different businesses with what we're doing and, planning on doing with it. But we're waiting for that final word. And even at CCAP, any meetings that we've had, even with our council as well, to just be patient and, continuing to be patient. But it's, there's nothing we can do until we get those final guidelines. So hopefully this will be covered and we can move forward with it.
I talked to Corey about a week ago. Corey Johnson, who's with Zelenkowski Oxford, he's one of the auditors that we've hired to help consult on the usage of these funds. And his expectation is that the final rule will be out mid-fall.
Okay.
So at that point, we'll have a better idea on how we can move forward. Obviously, it's the federal government,
Right.
and you never know with the federal government.
Right.
But that's Corey's expectation.
Well, my hope on this is that what we're talking about with this resolution is that we will find a way to be legally creative.
Absolutely.
As long as it's legal,
Absolutely.
hopefully we can find a way to cover this cost legally. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
Thank
Make that 243. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 2021-243.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion to second. Is there any further discussion? Dan, you look confused.
No, I've jumped ahead of you. On the next resolution, that's all.
So, hearing no further, I just want to make sure that hearing no further discussion, Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'm sorry,
So
Steve Craig used to do that to me. He'd be a few pages ahead, so I apologize.
Oh, goodness.
Up next, we have it's a budget amendment. What we have going on here, and this will be 244, is originally we had deposited our first allocation, the first half of the money we received from the American Rescue Plan, into the account that we used for the CARES Act. And back when we deposited that, the auditors and everybody came back and said, this is fine, this is a necessary and appropriate thing to do. Upon further review, and I'll add that the CARES Act had, I want to say, 7 categories of allowable expenditures. The American Rescue Plan has over 50 categories for allowable expenditures. And there's also independent monitoring that needs to take place at the federal level, in this case, CARES Act at state level, but at the federal level for those dollars, to make sure that not only we're in compliance with those dollars, but that everybody that received ARP funding is in compliance with those dollars. All this resolution does is it transfers the money that we currently have in the CARES Act account into a new account for the purposes of administering ARP funding, and the values are now in line and in conjunction with allowable expenditure categories for ARP funds. And you'll note here, the bulkhead of them are going to be put into a contingency account that we now have the flexibility to transfer around as we need, with $1 million, I believe, it's all in a contingency account, with the exception, I think, of a little bit being put into a administrative expense account to pay down some of the costs associated with our consultants. So are there any questions or comments on this? I hope I explained it sufficiently.
Well, are we segregating the CARES money here and the ARP money there, or are we blending them?
So the CARES money has already all been spent.
Okay.
There isn't $1 left in that bank account. We've spent it all. In fact, we had to spend it all, as I'm sure you're both aware.
Right.
Yes, hard and fast
Yes.
deadline. However, based on the opinion of, Dave Prestine's one sentence over, based on the opinion of the auditors, they need to be even in separate funds.
Understood.
So even though there's no money left in that CARES Act fund, it still is necessary to shift that over and basically start a new fund for ARP.
So, and you may have said this, I'm the slow guy up here, so bear with me. You may have said this. Was there a time earlier this year when they were blended together?
No, we received our first allocation of ARP dollars in either June or July, I believe.
That's right.
And the CARES Act money was all drawn down by the end of last year.
Gotcha. I'm up to speed.
It had to be.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Any additional questions, comments?
No.
I will take a motion to approve resolution 2021-244.
So moved.
That's just reading the back. But yes, second. I'm fine. Second.
All right, we have a motion second for discussion here, none. Vanessa, please call roll.
Commissioner Steelvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
I'll note for Nick's case, Nick, we either scared everybody away or bored them to tears, but thank you for hanging with us.
Shout out to the Elmwood City Ledger.
There you go.
This one might be of interest to you, so this is maybe a reason to stick around. This is a resolution to transfer $82,000 from our community development line item to our planning department grants and programs line item. The purpose for this is for the acquisition of the additional and adjacent parcel of Quaker Falls. In other words, that park's going to get a whole lot bigger in terms of the property that the county owns. I will add that with this transfer, the budget for this year from a cash flow perspective is starting to run pretty slim. And so to that end, I'll send an email out to this effect to our department heads, but we really got to be watching our costs over the next couple of months to make sure we end the year cash flow positive. Any questions or comments on Quaker Falls acquisition?
No.
I believe that this is the property which would be north of the railroad tracks, but south of the river. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, it's Quaker Falls South, which is actually Quaker Falls North.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
The other thing I'll add, which I think is sort of an important piece to this, is originally we had applied for a grant, which would fund the acquisition of this property, and we were pretty damn sure we were going to get the grant.
Yes.
Actually, we were assured we were going to get the grant. We did not end up getting the grant. However, we're still on the hook for the purchase of the property. So to that end, this money has to be fully taken out of the county's general fund. Anything additional?
Well, I'm confident that moving forward, our planning department will have continued success with their grant efforts. This was a minor setback, well, a setback, but knowing how well they work, I'm sure that there will be future grant opportunities, and I'm sure we'll be successful.
We'll take a motion to approve resolution 2021-245.
So moved.
Second. The motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Up next, resolution 2021-246, which is a resolution for a transfer of $17,500 from various accounts to solicitor special counsel. Reason being is that specific account, we had some increased insurance costs this year, which required us to pay more money than anticipated to some insurance counsel out of, I always get this wrong, P Corp, I want to say.
Yes. Say that again. Insurance?
Insurance to P Corp.
Yes.
So we have counsel costs associated with numerous claims against us right now.
That's correct. It is P Corp. You're right.
So it's that, and the fund depleted itself, quite frankly, a lot faster than anticipated. We are contractually obligated to continue to retain the services of former solicitor Leslie and former associate solicitor Flannery through a very minimum the end of this year. And so the $17,500 covers that. Questions, comments?
Just have a technical question.
Sure.
On this document and the one preceding it, under controller reviewed, down at the bottom left, is that Mr. Getting's signature or Mr. Prestipine's signature? It is that Mr. Prestipine's signature? Okay, thank you.
Okay. And just for the record, this kind of shows you how tight we are right now. We had to pull some from commissioner arbitration and legal settlements, pull some from voter wages and outside registrars, pull some from courts, materials and supplies, and pull 1,000 from court office major. Again, that's just where we're sort of fishing around for money at this point in time.
And you know, and I know you both know this, but this happens every year toward the end of the year. We have areas that have unfortunately had to go a little beyond where their line item was, and then we have others where there's a surplus and you move them around. I always say it's like your electric bill and your water bill at home. You know, sometimes you use more electricity and less water, and so yeah, it's that time of year.
Yeah, crunch time. Yeah. I'll take a motion to approve resolution 2021-246.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. Vanessa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyd?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have a number of administrative transfers and others. One on the back of your agenda too related to the jail.
Thank you.
First up, public safety. And this is an interesting one, just for context on some of these public safety transfers, because there are a lot of them this time around. PEMA required that we change the chart of accounts for the administration of 911. This is the first year that was implemented. As a result of that, some of the budget, because again, it's sort of the first year it was implemented and we're still kind of working our way through the new regulations that are associated with that new chart of accounts. Some of the budget was a little bit of guesswork. And so to that end, all the money's there that's needed to fund that operation, but we're probably over the course of the next couple of months going to be needing to move some around to account for the fact that again it's a new chart of accounts, and quite frankly we were sort of playing around with it this year. So just as context for the next couple amendments. So we're moving from office equipment, $5,590 to access control and security systems. We're moving from HVAC, $2,872.44 to travel and training. We're moving from call taking protocol on $5,351 to office equipment. And we're moving a total of $65,048.44 from miscellaneous accounts to our radio system maintenance account. And again, a lot of that is to deal with that sort of newness that chart of accounts. Questions or comments on any of those?
Just a compliment to the staff that, assuming it was the staff at Public Safety that put these documents together. It's nice. I always prefer to see them typewritten.
Yeah.
And these are done very, very professionally. That's my only comment on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Next up, we have contingency account, $2,800 to materials and supplies as domestic relations. Like I said, unexpected purchase for the detectives. Need to satisfy the needs of that purchase. They got a decent amount in their contingency account, though, so I'm not worried about that. Assessment, cost and conference travel that JR went to. Actually, I believe either you or you were there when JR went to the conference.
Yes,
Was he out there when you were at training?
no, I thought you meant the, our
was-
fall, or our,
Yeah, he was there for the August.
for our August
in Hershey.
conference in Hershey. He was there, yeah.
But anyway, we're moving $1,200 to cover some of his travel and training expenses. Out of the jail,
We need to
yeah,
note the fact that it's the jail.
okay.
Yeah.
Some contracted maintenance, moving from their contingency, $1,400 to their contract services.
Yeah.
Questions, comments on any of this?
No.
No, sir. I'll take a motion to approve administrative transfers A through G.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Question on the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. No resolution. That's done. We have no ordinance on the table for introduction for final action. Next commissioners meeting will be held Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 at 10 a.m. in this room. Courthouse will be closed on Monday, October 11th in observance of Columbus Day. I actually had a friend, I was joking with him, I shouldn't even say this, but I was joking with a full Italian heritage. And the guy's parents are from Italy. And I was with him, and I jokingly said, one of the unions, and this is not true, one of the unions is pushing us to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. He got more serious than I've ever seen him get. And immediately he goes, Morgan, if that happens, you understand, I'm going to arrange a picket line at the courthouse. So, just a fun story.
Yeah.
Planning Commission meeting Wednesday, October 13th at noon at Hitos, in Taylor Township, West Pittsburgh.
High tip,
I always get that wrong.
strong.
And there will also be a prison board meeting on Wednesday, October 19th, 2021 at 12 o'clock noon. Am I missing anything?
Just something for us to give thought to.
Yes. Oh, right.
You're out of town on the 19th, I believe.
Yes.
And I guess as that date approaches, we'll have to determine, and we can still meet if it's needed, but just want to plant that seed as to maybe as we approach it, we can figure out if it's necessary for us to meet. We'll have a quorum, but
Right.
if we get to that point and don't have a need to meet,
Are
we can always-
the commissioners meeting or prison board?
I'm talking about the commissioners meeting.
Commissioners, meeting. That's Tuesday, the 18th.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, I just wanted
You
to
know what, I was looking at
clear,
that wrong.
yeah.
No, it's the 19th. What did I say?
Wait a minute.
Hang on. Yeah.
The 19th is the,
Tuesday's the ninth,
yeah.
Thursday's.
All right,
Oh, then
then
we got
prison
that-
board
there's
is
the
the
20th.
20th. Okay, that's,
You'll miss prison board as well.
That's not
Jim, would you want me to change that?
I would very much appreciate it if you left it alone.
Okay, right, the 19th, yeah.
Is it safe to say that maybe the prior week we can determine if there's a need?
Whether to
for
have
us?
it, yeah, if there's a need for a meeting or not.
We'll figure. I will say that I was going to comment. Like I said, I'm working on that half an hour meeting rule. We did 2 half hours today, which means we are on track to cancel a meeting.
Okay.
Well, I'm
There you go.
partly to blame for it going as long as it did.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Any additional public comments? Did I ask them?
No, thank you.
Any additional business? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to, actually, I don't need to. I adjourn the meeting. Done.
Okay, done, thank